watched through your video you posted the other day, the 53-man roster projection and everything.
Hmm.
Great analysis on everything. I definitely liked it, and I noticed you had a few guys you listed as well on the bubble and everything, and I just kind of was going to see if you had a little bit to kind of expound on that for like our audience, like key guys that you think might be on the bubble, whether it's your Alfred Morris or maybe some rookies or just backups trying to kind of crack the roster finally.
Yes. When you look when we talking about players that's on a bubble, now this process is going through its phases because trading has yet to occur. Of course, veterans will be released once the everybody's into training camp or after training camp. So there's still room. But when I say a bubble, you want to look at something that can create balance to your team or help your team out collectively. So the reason why I put Alfred Morris on a bubble is because he don't play special teams. We all know that. And he's a liability in some aspects as far as blocking and catching out of the backfield. Now, you got Ryan Switzer, who's a flexible guy who actually was scouted to be a running back before he made it to North Carolina. So he has those type of skill set and that type of temperament to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and can be your third down guy. So if you have the Ryan Switzers, if you have the Lucky Whiteheads of the world, and if you throw a Jared Thomas in the mix, you have these same conglomerate type of players or same type of players out there in the backfield. So why not boost up your running back core with somebody who knows the system as well, like the Rod Smith and the Keith Smith. Those guys been in the system for a while. Although Rod Smith didn't make the team last year, he was still implemented and he knows the playbook. So I think that they kind of missed Rod Smith's special team ability. He can play out in special team. He can come down and be that type of gunner, type of special team player. So that's why I said that Alfred Morris is on a bubble. And the same strength with the Lucky Whitehead. The reason why he's on a bubble is because you got a Ryan Switzer. You have already the Cole Beasleys of the world. So you can't have just three players, 5'8", 5'9", this on your team. At some point, you got to have room for the new guys that's coming up. And if Lucky Whitehead doesn't show up this training camp or preseason, he just may be on the bubble and burst off the team, So that's why I came up with that. What other players did you have in mind that you want me to take a look at?
Well, this obviously wouldn't be a player on the bubble, but it is a player that people have a lot of curiosity about and everything. Jaylon Smith, he's a question mark in itself. I don't doubt that he'll be ready to play in some capacity week one, but it still seems like we've been kind of shielded a little bit from getting a look at him so far to know really where he's at.
Well, that's true. This training camp and also this preseason is everything for Jaylon Smith. You and I both know that we would love to see him play every 5 games for this preseason. We would love to see him out there for every single snap because that's how you develop the continuity with the team and understanding the pace and the speed of the team as far as defense. So you would like to see him out there for every 5 games, but we know that they're gonna just they're gonna put a placeholder on him out there as middle linebacker. But outside of that, we really want him to be out there on the field. But the problem is that who's going to fill in the role after him? You got the Anthony Hitchens, and then you have the guy Damien Wilson, who unfortunately, quote unquote, kind of pretty much put a bad name to the Cowboys. And it's just a knucklehead all altogether. And it's just a disgrace for him to not think of what he's doing, how he's going to just not, how can I put this, how he's going to put the team in such a horrible situation because Damien Wilson can play of course he played Sam, but he also can play the actual middle or Mike linebacker position. Now he's putting himself in a situation where he should not be on his team. At the end of the day, he should be getting cut. They should have a press conference saying that we're releasing him as of today. If the information that we have is valid, him reversing into I believe a woman and then showing his weapon out in front of the, I guess, quote unquote, the ladies or spouse.
When they went to confront him about it. Yeah, it's definitely a bad look on that. I heard that it was a rifle he flashed, not even just like a handgun. So that actually to me seems more threatening because it'd be one thing if it was just like something that you could kind of flash real quick with your hands, another if it's something you have to literally unload.
Right. And then the ramifications of it all. You have kids out there. You have other people that's out there that are trying to enjoy the function. Hey, we all know that parking is an important thing when you're in a big city, but at the same time, you got to think beyond your frame of mind. You know, you got to look beyond the situation that's at hand. I really feel that that the kid just needs to just have some type of counseling. This is the second year in a row that he made an ill-advised situation. Because think about it. I don't know if you went paint gun. Yeah, the paintball deal. The first thing that I'm from Mississippi, and I know Damien Wilson, he's from Mississippi too as well. And the first thing they tell us is that protect your face at all times and keep your goggles on. And you always have the one or two people that say, well, I don't need a helmet. I don't need goggles or what have you. So on my list of 53 men, although Damien Wilson was not a guy on the bubble, now I
definitely on it now. Yeah,
he's out the door.
He is the bubble.
He is the bubble. So you have the Lucas Wacott is good news for him, and you have good news for Mark Nizacha. Now these guys are going to be, and there's another guy, John Latuate, but now these guys got opportunity to play because, believe it or not, linebackers are a dying breed in the NFL because of the fact that more teams more and more are playing nickel. So you got position flex now. You got the Chidobe Awuzie. He can play the strong side too as well, just for periodically or sporadically, I meant to say. And you got the Xavier Woods. You got these guys that can come down and play strong side strong side linebacker. So it's still a process because I charted the games that Wilson played last year. It's only like 25 to 30% of the time that he was out there on the field anyhow. So
yeah. He had 6 starts last year, I believe. It's definitely a shame because he did appear to be a promising young player, not necessarily a consistent starter, but definitely a good kind of fill-in role player and everything. And as you mentioned, this should more than likely end his Cowboys career if any of the stuff if he's convicted of any of the stuff. It's definitely pretty much a career killer. It's both second-degree felony, I believe, is what I read.
We'll see what evidence brings out, but it's just not a good news to hear, And I do know Cowboys Nations, everybody, we still leaning on, all right, so what about this Darrell Washington kid? Or what about Zach Orr? Yeah. What about these guys? Darrell Washington is a 50-50 situation with him because he's 31 or 30 years old, somewhere around that age range. And he has similar misfortunes off the field situation. So, and the national media, they always love to bring in that type of information once we selected the guy, because if you would talk to anybody back in 2015, they would say, yeah, Greg Hardy, he played with the Dallas Cowboys and he had those transgressions while he was on our team, which was not the situation. Right. Those who follow the teams closely or those who know football closely, all of that information happened while he was in North Carolina. But anybody that casually watch football will say, no, he was one of those knuckleheads that Dallas Cowboys picked up, and he had all those transgressions while he was on our team, while he was on Cowboys, which that was never the case nor the scenario. So I got him on. I got Damien Wilson off the team, and I have the Jaylon Smith of the world, just pretty much having a placeholder on him and see what he can do outside of training camp, and really looking forward for preseason with him.
Nice. So do you think that Blanton is on the bubble at all? Do you think it's, I guess, Jeff Heath secure at safety for the most part? He's shown some flashes outside of his rookie year.
Jeff Heath is my dark horse. The thing is with Jeff Heath is that, everybody remembers 2013 when he faced the Megatron, and he faced Adrian Peterson. Yep. And he faced Jimmy. So that was a healthy entree for him to eat. Maybe matter of fact, that was a full course meal that he just wasn't ready for.
That was Thanksgiving.
Right. And you're talking undrafted from, I think, a small school, Saginaw Valley or something like that. Forgive me if I said the school wrong, but this guy, outside of that, when I charted his film, when I did his little my quote unquote film session on him, I couldn't find no negative plays out there on him, believe it or not. And I try to tell people, look, this guy is flying to the ball. He's explosive enough. He's one of those guys. He's a student of the game. And I tell everybody, there's 3 types of players that you want on your team. Somebody who's out there aggressive with the mindset, who's a student of the game, and who's good off the field. And that's who he is. That's who Jeff Heath is. He's one of those guys who's a student of the game. I love the asset that he brings to the team.
Yeah, if not for a penalty away from the ball, he's probably the hero of that playoff game last year. He had a second pick off of Aaron Rodgers that got wiped out. I want to say by a Morris Claiborne illegal contact penalty. It was something away from, it was the other side of the field, I recall.
Right. One of those quote unquote calls like, wait a minute, what are you guys are doing? And you get that, you're playing against a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. And there was another play that when he came in, he sacked Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know, if you go back and look at the play, I still to this day don't know how Aaron Rodgers hold on to that ball.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I actually have a lot of high hopes for Jeff Heath, and I'm a little surprised to say that, but like you said, anytime I've looked back at footage or analysis, whether your own or others, I've been really impressed by what I've seen, and I think it's something that it almost took until like that playoff performance for him before I started to actually go, no, you know what? I actually can't remember the last time I saw him missing a play or making a bad read.
Right. So he gets that smear campaign for 2013, and who else? It was 349 yards, I think, to accumulate on him. Well, not just on him, because it was really Carr who gave up the inside, and that's why I'm going to jump back over to here. This Nolan Carroll kid. This guy is very aggressive. He can play well to the inside. Now, as far as him turning his head to the outside, those are things that we just gonna have to worry about on him. But the good news about that is that the Dallas Cowboys play a lot of cover 2, and he's able to have that safety help, quote unquote, the Jeff Heath of the world to help him out. So this is going to be a very fast team. I believe primetime Deion Sanders was able to visit some of the OTAs camps, and he was saying to everybody and to the masses, I wish I could find that clip. It's out there out there in the world, but he was saying that this team is fast and explosive. Now that's something coming from primetime.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something.
Definitely.
So now, as far as the defensive backs, the player that's on the bubble, of course, I have Robert Blanton not making the team. Unfortunately, he's a casualty of rookies war, what have you. I have Orlando Scandrick. He must show up and show out. If not, then Orlando Scandrick is the one guy who cannot afford to get injured. He's the one guy that knows that I hope that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. I hope he plays mean, because we love angry Orlando Scandrick, because somehow that's when he plays his best.
Right. So you think Scandrick's, I guess, spot on the team is kind of in question in training camp?
He's got a big check mark on that, because you got the Jordan Lewis's and you have the Cheeto Bay,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that, I guess. I think I was looking at it just from the veteran leadership perspective. But yeah, that does make sense. It's very young, but they are pretty loaded at defensive back at this point. Speaking on safety, another defensive back, Xavier Woods, I was thrilled when they were able to draft him. Do you think he'll have a role outside of special teams this year, or do you think he'll probably be fringe for a little while?
When you look at Brian Broaddus' scouting report on Xavier Woods, the one thing that jumped out to me is his instinct. An instinctive player, and you will not see that during OTAs. You probably rarely will see that during training camp. So those are things that I lamented, I believe, on my 53 man. The fact that he may be one of those guys that's a gamer, like Dak Prescott. Everybody remember, Dak Prescott wasn't lighting it up during training camp and OTAs. He pretty much was a gamer. So that's something that you may have the same scenario happen with Xavier Woods. You probably not hear too much of him as far as training camp and OTA. Well, OTA has been passed now, but as far as preseason, you may see a little sparkle of here and there, because I really think that this guy has range. He can move from one hash mark to the other, but in order for him to get playing time out there, he must beat the Kayvon Frazier's of the world, and he must compete against Jeff Heath. So he's of course he's going to make the team, but as far as making an immediate splash, just look for like probably week 4 or week 5, so that he can get the pace of because we're talking about an instinctive player, right? We're talking about a player that takes chances, a player that's able to gamble, a player that's going to have to understand that, yeah, we might let you get away with hitting a player high or too low in the college, but this next level is just very, 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 very fickle, where the officials may call, late hit and, blow to the head type of calls. on this type of level.
Right.
So he's going to have to learn the game, the speed of the game to be that wrecking force out there on the field.
Okay. I guess kind of moving into the final topic I was curious about. I didn't get a chance to mention it with you before.
Mm-hmm.
It's something just kind of cropping up just because of the situation with Damien Wilson. I think it's kind of rear its way back around. Do you think there's an issue? There's been a number of suspensions pertaining to the defense, mostly the defensive line. But it seems like since 2014, 2015, there have just been a slew of either suspensions or off-the-field issues with players. Do you think at some point it starts to kind of become a cultural problem that Jason Garrett has to figure out a way to address?
I always argue the fact that these are grown men, and I do know that a lot of times the media and some folks would like to say, well, he's 23 or 24, or these players are 25. Now, as far as a cultural aspect of it, yeah, I can say that, when you have a family, for instance, that's discipline heavy, sometimes you will have that voice in your head saying, well, I'm not going to do this today because I know my mom is going to hear about this and she's going to give me a whooping eventually.
That sounds like a Byron Jones.
Yeah. So so that's something that we just can't judge. You can't judge the fact that Damien Wilson, who's just been flying under the radar, all we heard was just good reports from him. And then all of a sudden you have this gun situation. You have him backing his car up into a woman for all people. And then you have a situation, David Irving's with the PED, not going to, just not knowledgeable enough to go to your team trainer and say, okay, this is a new product that I'm going to showcase, endorsed. And then we all know the Randy Gregory, something with that I believe that I think Jerry Jones got something up his sleeve with the upcoming years to maybe they're going to do away with the actual, marijuana testing type of situations. But at the same time, it just looks damaging for our team collectively to have these guys not able to be out there come Sunday and come Monday and come Thursday nights, So that's something that's devastating for our team.
Yeah, it always feels like we're never at full strength because there's always someone suspended. Mm-hmm. It's like you worry about suspension keeping your team from full strength more than injury. And that was one thing late last year. It seemed like everything was kind of falling into place before the playoffs, and it ended up not being able to be enough. But that was part of what looked so promising at the end of last year, I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say on the Jerry Jones front, it would be very interesting to see if his influence can actually get that pass where they stop testing for marijuana. At the same time, it's a pretty transparent look in the sense that we've had multiple players busted and suspended for it, and then he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to try and get that thrown out. Like, cool. Well, I think that was about it, unless you had any thoughts on the Elliott NFL investigation that won't go away.
Every time we get close to just going ahead and closing the casket on that particular situation, those transgressions, a Dallas Cowboy player gets suspended. I think they was close on closing it out before then Randy Gregory situation happened or occurred. And then before that, another situation happened with Rolando McClain. So every time the NFL trying to maybe just close the casket on that Ezekiel Elliott situation, these type of transgressions happen. So they just trying to protect themselves from 2014 and 15 of these players having these type of TMZ type of pictures out there sullying the NFL shield. But it's just a horrible situation for us to see a player with the graces and the skill set that Ezekiel Elliott have to still be under the microscope with the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And that's an interesting thing too, because in this case, the transgression being investigated was before he was a Cowboy, like you mentioned before. So to keep bringing him more back into focus under that microscope every time a different Cowboy does something definitely seems a little strange. But I think part of that just comes with the attention of it being maybe Cowboys as well.
Yeah, and the Cowboys as well. So don't forget about the Jordan Lewis situation. He got a hearing, I believe, July the 10th. That's something that's going to circulate and be all throughout the masses of the media. So that's something too as well, that if he's convicted of, then there's going to be another, hey, Jerry Jones taking a chance at the wrong type of player type of situation. So those are things that have always kind of set a major question mark on the NFL. What are the owners are doing? Are they capable, or should they be held to their foot to the fire with these type of players out there? So, or selecting these type of players to damage the shield. So those are things that always kind of question mark me too, as well. Put a question mark on everything too as well for me, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, thanks for your time and everything. We definitely hope to do it again sometime here soon. Maybe training camp or something like that. We can.
Yes, man. Anytime, you know, I have free time, we can meet up and we can talk about them Cowboys.
Yeah, sounds great, man. Okay. Well, I'll let you get back to your family and everything. I hear the little one.
Right. She's a handful, man. I apologize for that, but you know, that's how
no worries at all. Yeah, no worries at all, man.
All right.
Okay.
Salute.
Well.